We lost 3 of our best people in 6 months. We didn't know why. There was no single incident, no obvious conflict, no dramatic warning. Each resignation came with a reasonable explanation, a new opportunity, a personal decision, a need for change. But when the third person left, we stopped treating the departures as separate events. We were an 80-person company, small enough to know almost everyone by name, large enough for pressure to become invisible. From the outside, the business looked stable. Projects were moving, clients were being served, targets were being met, but the people carrying that performance were becoming harder to read. We had the usual information: attendance records, sick leave reports, performance reviews, exit interviews. The problem was not that we had no data. The problem was that the data sat in different places and arrived too late. By the time absence increased, a person was already struggling. By the time performance changed, a manager was already reacting. By the time someone resigned, the decision had often been made weeks earlier. That was the point. When we introduced MScan, we did not use it to label people, and we did not begin with another motivational program. We used it to look for patterns. The first thing we saw was that there was no single dramatic red flag. There was an accumulation. Pressure remained high for too long. Recovery between demanding periods was inconsistent. Some managers could see output, but not the strain behind it, and several warning signals appeared before they became visible in attendance or resignation data. For the first time, the conversation changed. Instead of asking, who is underperforming, we began asking, where is the system creating avoidable pressure? That distinction mattered. The company did not make one large announcement. It made smaller, targeted decisions. Priorities were clarified, where teams were carrying competing demands. Workload was reviewed before absence became a pattern. Managers received a clearer basis for earlier conversations, and follow-up became regular, rather than waiting for the annual survey. None of these actions looked dramatic. That was precisely the point. The goal was not to create a wellness campaign. The goal was to make better management decisions earlier. In the following measurement period, sick leave was 28% lower, 28%. The number mattered, but the more important result was what had changed behind the number. Managers were no longer working only from instinct. HR was no longer waiting for an exit interview to understand what had happened, and leadership could see human capital risk as an operating issue, not a personal weakness. We did not become a perfect workplace. No company does, and no dashboard can replace a good manager, but it can show a manager where to look. It can show leadership which signals are repeating, and it can make an invisible pattern visible before the cost becomes another resignation. For an 80-person company, losing 3 strong people in 6 months was not simply an HR problem. It affected continuity, knowledge, client relationships, and the confidence of the people who remained. A 28% reduction in sick leave did not come from asking people to be more resilient. It came from seeing the pressure earlier and responding more precisely. If your company is waiting for absence, performance decline, or resignation to confirm that something is wrong, the signal is arriving too late. The first step is not a campaign, it is visibility. See what your current reports may be missing. MScan, human capital signals leaders can act on.